So we are looking at the old Ford Escape here. I went to, I'm going to try to hold this camera, first person view here. So, well, actually no. This is one of those projects that kind of went a little longer than expected, or a lot longer. The original intent was to change this motor mount. This engine was knocking. There was, I couldn't figure out what it was for the longest time. I started moving it back and forth, and as it turns out, I could hear a clunk with the motor mount. I think I can get a shot of that for you here. So this is one of the joys of doing it yourself, being a do-it-yourselfer with the car. That's a fresh new motor mount in there. It went in a lot stiffer than I was hoping for. These bolts on there went in really tight, but I got it all put together. Everything went in fine. I actually had it all done. It went in about an hour. So I was pretty proud of myself. Go to let the car down, and the jack has this fluid all over it. Now that's either transmission fluid or power steering fluid. It smelled like power steering fluid, and sure enough, I looked in the reservoir and it was emptying out, and it was coming out pretty good, and I could not find out where it was because all that stuff is up here. I didn't see any leaks. Well, as it turns out, I bumped into, I must have been when I was reefing this thing around in here, I bumped into the return line hose, which is a metal return line on the power steering pump, and I must have bent it, and it was leaking. I didn't know if I'd broken it or what, but it was leaking out pretty bad. So that is one of those things that, as you can tell, I'm not real pleased with it. But when you work on your own stuff, you sometimes make more work for yourself than necessary. Well, I found a weak spot. I'm going to chalk it up to, I found a weak spot in the system, and this might have happened, on the road. It really didn't take a whole lot of force to apparently ruin it. As I opened it up, I found out the seal is very dry in there, and it's really poorly designed, actually. Very, very weak. So, if somebody just went in there and bumped it, it probably would have eventually started leaking and just draining out, and that wouldn't have been good in the middle of a road trip. And I'm also was able to check the serpentine belt down here, which is cracked and checked and probably needed to be replaced. So I'm sure that's original. Well, I don't know if it was original. I didn't see a Motorcraft label on it, but I don't have it out yet. Yeah, it's pretty old. It's probably original. So that's going to get replaced. I bought a new one of those. And I was able to I managed to get the power steering pump out to inspect it, and it turns out it was that hose that I had the seal on it. So I have kind of a thing on my cars, since they're all old and not real nice. If I get into something that's hard to replace, I replace it. So I don't just fix what I need, I try to replace the whole part. Whether that's a good philosophy or not, I don't know. It's what I've always done, and I've always gotten well over 200,000 miles out of all my cars so far. So here's the new glorious power steering pump, and this is the thing that was bent. So I must have pushed on this, and it just had a little seal. It's around here somewhere, the old one. That's right here. It has one of these flat O-rings, and I mean, this thing was flush to the surface. I mean, it doesn't go inside of it, it just sits on top, and I could barely feel any difference. So it's just brittle. It must just be, I don't know how it would work. It doesn't seem like it would seal at all, but it was just puking oil out the side. So got a new O-ring with the new kit. I took and straightened this flange out because it looked kind of bent in all directions, probably from being torqued down. And I put it on a stone and smoothed it all out. So I should be getting a good seal in there now, at least, if we're careful with it, now that I know what it is. The problem I'm running into now is still, again, do-it-yourselfer. Now that I've decided to replace the pump, I've got to get the high pressure line off, and it's not coming off. So I may have to end up, if I can't get this off today with heat, and I'm going to bring it over to my dad's shop and see if he's got a better vise than I have, and maybe I can get this off of here. If I can get it off, we'll be in business tonight. All this thing will be back together. If I can't, I'm going to order a $14 part. I'm guessing that's why they sell these, because they're really hard to get out. You probably screw them up getting them out, but they're about 14 bucks online, so I'll have to wait a couple of days to get one of those shipped in here. But at any rate, it will be back together. It will be driving again. No matter what, I have to have this thing working, because we're we are going up to the cabin in a couple weeks, and I wanted to get that motor mount changed out before we drove it on the long road trip. And of course this cost me more time and quite a bit more money, but hopefully within the next couple of days it will be back on the road. And that's just the joys of doing things yourself. Everybody talks about the glamorous side of doing it yourself, but let's be honest, sometimes this is not fun at all. So that's where we're at. If we can get this thing driving, we will be taking this car up for our next Thanksgiving trip. We're going to spend a week up there in a couple weeks. I'm going to finish the insulation that you saw me start. I can't wait to get on that, and hopefully everything is intact and we've had no vandalism or anything, you know, nature related that wrecks anything. But this is where we're at right now, so I've got to get this car back on the road and hopefully do it soon. So that is it for today.